And my first project is entitled SOFIA, Mixing Art and Science. Now earlier this year, my sister, Stacy Lord, was selected to participate in the 2015 NASA SOFIA missions. Now SOFIA is S-O-F-I-A and stands for Stratospheric Observatory for Infrared Astronomy. Now this observatory happens to be housed upon a converted 747 aircraft that has a 2.5 meter diameter telescope and is dedicated to astronomy science and works at an altitude of approximately 45,000 feet. This is so that the instruments can get up above most of the atmospheric distortion that you and I would experience here on the ground. Now Stacy is a visual arts teacher who works with kids that are from lower income areas of the city where she lives. And over the years, she's received awards and recognition for her work within the community, creating summer programs, and also creating one of the largest art fairs in Massachusetts, which last year attracted 20,000 people to the streets of Worcester. So I thought it would be fun to shadow my sister on her flights and create a 30-minute educational video that tells the story of how a creative arts teacher steps into the world of astronomy science for the first time and will now bring that back to the classroom and implement that into a visual arts curriculum. So near the end of August 2015, Stacy will be flying along with other educational ambassadors from around the country to meet, observe, and learn from 20 different science teams that will be conducting their research during the 2 10-hour night flights of the SOFIA mission. These teams travel in from around the world and have to go through a rigorous application process to have time allotted on the SOFIA aircraft for their research. So as it stands right now, I'm looking at around $5,000 to bring this project to editing and a completion date of around April 2016. I hope you can contribute. This project is exciting for me and it's a great way for me to honor my sister, and you can be part of that. The links are below if you found this video on YouTube or another social networking site. Check the description to how to get to the fundraising page. And I appreciate your time, listening, and support for my project. Thank you.
So here's the ways that you guys can follow us. You can follow us on Facebook if you're interested in following along how this has been implemented in my classroom and the upcoming documentary. You can follow us on Twitter as well as Stacy Lord. And then our fundraising page is Mixing Art and Science if you'd like to make a donation. It's been, we'll go back down if you guys are, whoops. We'll skip that. There you go. Sensitive buttons up here. We have about 15 minutes left, and what I'd like to do is, if there's any questions you guys would like to ask, I'm available now to answer them for you about anything, any part or process of the experience that I just had, the adventure that we talked about, bringing the arts into the classroom and mixing the arts and science. And I think one of the last things I will leave with you is that to actually go outside your comfort zone. You know, go out there, take a risk, take a challenge, and you never know where it's actually going to lead you. Because had he come through and he said, Miss, listen to me, Stacy, you want to do this with me? And I actually had to take it home and really think hard about it, because one, you start thinking about all the negatives, like, well, no, I can't, because I'm not this, I'm not that, I don't have the time, how am I going to fit in a graduate level class, blah, 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 and you always come up with all these excuses, but to actually do it, because you know what, you never know where it's going to lead you. And this has led me to opening up so many doors and enriching my knowledge such that I can now bring it back into my classroom and give it to my students and show it to my students through the math, through the science, through the technology, through the arts, and through the sciences. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Any questions? Anybody? Oh, wow. Okay, this. There were windows, not a lot of them, because a lot of them are covered over, and when you did look out of them, you didn't see anything but black. And that's pretty much it. I was able to sit up in the cockpit during takeoff and landing on the flights, and that was quite an an interesting experience, because in the older 747, you had about 1.5 foot span. That's it for windows. So the pilots are all like this, you know, looking around, looking out this little tiny window, and you start scratching your head, like, okay, you sure this is safe? You know? But the windows themselves, when you're kicking off, you can see, I was like kicking off on a plane, but I think there's very few of them. And you get up so high that you don't see anything but black. Question?
Stacy, that was just such an epic adventure. I'm just wondering how you top that now. What are you going to do next? And can I come? I mean, that's probably the second part, right?
Yes. Well, actually, I am talking to SOFIA. Eddie did ask me to work on some visualizations that they can actually use in the SOFIA program to help explain what it is that they do. So that was a nice conversation. Again, that would be in the documentary, because he sees the importance of the arts and being able to think. And it's not so much bringing the creativity to the STEM, it's more the innovative and creative process as a process of thinking that we have, that we can amplify what's already there in the science, the technology, engineering, and math. You know, it's a beautiful synergy, as I said, you know, and they cross over, and this is your wonder spot here, you know, and that's where we all think, we should all be thinking that way, wondering about what's the next step, is always asking why and what not, and what if. You know, I'm known for asking all the time to my students, what if we did this? Oh, why not? Let's do it. You know, the worst that's going to happen is it's not going to look good, you know, so, and then you change plans, you know, but encountering that thought process is very important for our students to acquire. Yes?
Yeah, I had a question about expenses. Like, was everything covered, or did you find you had to spend money that you didn't think you would have to spend, or?
The only money I spent on was, they covered everything. Our flights, our meals, our hotels. What we did spend money on was all the extras that we wanted. They had a gift shop, so of course you end up buying stuff for all your friends and family and thank you gifts. But everything else was covered, which is a wonderful part of this program. Absolutely. Yes?
So after meeting all those people at NASA and taking the class, did you ever feel that maybe your path should have been in that direction? Or changing your path from art education?
NASA, I say, my eyes have been open to the innovativeness, is that a word? Of NASA itself. Because you think about it, and I'm just like, okay, rockets, yeah, okay, you know. But the process that they go through and the way they have their design processes implemented and the stages that their scientists have to go through, it's quite a creative company and forward thinking. And it's the more you talk to them, the more you realize this. I love that aspect, the building aspect, coming up with ideation. That's where I thrive. You know, so talking to them and talking to Janet, who was the head of the building of the bulkhead on the plane, that was amazing to me, because I'm just like, wow, you know, how do you create a cavity on the back of a plane that holds this 18-ton telescope, and it doesn't rip it off, and it doesn't create such turbulence that it can't stay on that pinpoint? You know, that is just what I love, that kind of thinking. Anyone else? I don't know if I didn't answer your question or not. Yes?
Your collaboration with the science teacher and the STEAM, how and when do you introduce design thinking to the students?
Oh, I introduced it day one in my class, whether I'm collaborating with another teacher or not. I've been doing that. I've been teaching 13 years, and that's always been the way. I've always been about the process of creating in my classroom, as opposed to the skills. The skills are secondary. But if I can get them to think creatively, which is a challenge in middle school, huge challenge. A lot of times I'll get my students, they'll get up and they'll walk to me with a paper and they're like, oh, never mind. You're not going to answer me anyways, because a lot of times I just look at them and I'm just like, I turn the question around. And I'll take their paper and I'll say, well, what do you think? Well, Miss, am I done? I said, what do you think? Do you think you're done? I said, first of all, if you have to come up here and ask me if you're done, you know what the answer is. You know you're not, so go back and work on it. Secondly, I won't answer them. I look at them, if I know they know the answer, I'm not going to answer them. I'm just like, nope, go figure that out. So, you know, they get to the point where they'll come up, okay, and it's one of these Let's turn around and go back to my seat. So the design process is from day one in my class, day one. And a lot of times I will also show them the scientific method as well, because then there's correlation between the two, which they don't realize.
Do they keep scientific journals or visual
Not in my
journals?
classroom, but yes, in the science class, in the labs they do, yes. Anyone else? Oh, yes.
Yeah, on your application process, do you have to write a paper too, or is it just a form you fill out?
Now, it's many forms. It's a whole, it's quite a rigorous application. So you do have to write an essay, a couple of them. You do need to tell them what your plan's going to be, using this information that you have, how you're going to implement it back into your school, your community, your district. So you really have to think forward and saying, okay, I'm not quite sure what it is I'm going to study, or what kind of information I'm going to take in, but how am I going to utilize that and bring it back? Other than just creating, just talking about it. I mean, how else can I really bring this education back to my students, or our students in the schools, in the community? Yes.
I know you were tweeting while you were away.
Yes.
And I'm just wondering, what was the connection with your middle school students through social media maybe, or when you got back, what did they want to know?
Oh, they wanted to know absolutely everything from if we ate that frozen foods like, the astronauts eat, to when I came back to my classroom, I think I spent at least 2 solid days with all my classes just debriefing them on what it is that I did. Going through all my 500-600 slides and just clicking through them, showing them, bringing them back into this experience, because again, they followed me. They were there through the class. When I'm talking about it, they were in the classroom, we were being filmed and we were being interviewed all the time. So they actually took this trip with me. So when I came back, they look at the book and say, Miss, can I touch the book? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely, go ahead and touch it. But if you won't, I said, open up to chapter 7 and quiz me on it, because that's what I need to study. So everything I just brought back right into my classroom. And then again, when I came back that first day, we wore our jackets, and everyone was just like, next jackets. So. But they wanted to know everything, just absolutely everything. What was the science, because everything I bring and I teach with them is always about sensory everything. So of course they were throwing that right back at me. Miss, what does it smell like? What does it sound like? What kind of food did you eat? Middle school questions as well. So did you fall asleep? No. Yes. No. Our only responsibility was to observe. I spent a lot of it talking to people, interviewing them, kind of getting to know who they were, which was extremely informative, and it was wonderful because, Bernie, one of the telescope operators I was talking to, is a philosophy major in college. And I'm like, how should you end up being a telescope operator on SOFIA if you went to school for philosophy? So listening to them, there's a couple people with art backgrounds, which I thought was phenomenal. Math, taught high school math, and ended up being one of the researchers here. So you really have to ask them and engage in what it is that brought them to that point, because it's not your typical, I went to college, I went to school, and here I am. That path isn't like that at all, which I think a lot of us can relate to as well. No, it's collected through the monitors and the computers, and then it shows up in a whole bunch of data on the monitor, and then those data is parsed and is overlaid, and then you get that great image of what it is that you're looking at. And the colors are really intense. They're beautiful, absolutely gorgeous to see. And to think that's billions of light years away, so what you're looking, these splattering of colors, is you couldn't even see them with the naked eye and fathom how far away it is. It's just, I don't think about that because I can't relate that to anything. How do you relate, 100 light years away. How do you relate that to what? I have nothing to do that with. So I just focus on the colors and what it is that we're looking in real time. Yes?
You've shown some really terrific examples of how you brought it back to the classroom and influencing kids' work. How's it influenced your personal work outside the classroom?
Oh, good question. You know what, my work right now, I've been working on creating some art, but I haven't really gotten too much into it. For me, the process of creating is coming up with the ideas to share with my students. That's how I'm taking it back right now. Does it affect my personal work? No, not yet. Eventually I think it might, but right now I just love to create the projects for my students to really be engaged in. So that's how I look at it. So, okay, well, thank you.